So welcome to Virtual Doors Open Day 2020 and a look inside the Kirk of St Nicholas in Aberdeen. So if we go through the colonnade on Union Street and walk up through the kirkyard to the south door of the Kirk of St Nicholas. We have a quick glance to the west elevation and the part of the church that was redesigned by James Gibb and opened in 1755. Of course, from the archaeology that the Open Space Trust did ahead of the redevelopment of the East Church building, this shows that there has been a place of worship on this site from around 1000 AD. So we approach the south door and the drum and colocynth aisles. So let's take a look inside. So if we walk through the drum and colocynth aisles and under the crossing towards the north transept, we come across the St. John's Chapel, which was built as a commemoration for the oil and gas industry. Under the crossing and to the right, we find the door that would lead you through to the East Church of St. Nicholas and the space that is now being redeveloped by the Open Space Trust. Let us progress through the screen and into St. John's Chapel, where we're immediately struck by this beautiful radiant stained glass window that was created by Shona McInnes in 1990. St. John's Chapel, also known as the Oil and Gas Chapel, was created as a gift from the oil and gas companies operating in Aberdeen and as a commemoration following the tragedy of the Piper Alpha disaster. The chapel holds books of remembrance for the Piper Alpha tragedy and also tragedies involving helicopter accidents in the North Sea. Let's have a look of the window in more detail. At the bottom of the stained glass window we see a representation of the city of Aberdeen surrounded by the two rivers, the Dee and the Don. And then further up we see images of oil and gas installations and representations of pipelines. At the top of the window we can see a representation of the Holy Spirit in the shape of the dove, and the flaring from the oil platforms mingles with the symbols of fire from Pentecost. At the very top of the window we can see an eagle holding an oil drum, because St. John is also the patron saint of oil producers. Also found in St. John's Chapel are some of the oldest stones in the whole of Aberdeen. The oil chapel is completed with beautiful furniture by the Scottish craftsman Tim Stead. Tim, from the borders of Scotland, made these high-back chairs, the communion table, and all the furniture in the chapel. If we have a look at the backs of the chairs, you will see different woods: walnut and elm, rowan, elm, maple, beech, elm and rowan. This gives a message, we remember, which is completed with wood from the yew tree, so it spells out, we remember you. In the background you can hear the carillon, a collection of 40 odd bells being played by Ronald Leith, rather than a group of campanologists playing using bell ropes. The carillon is the largest in the United Kingdom. As we turn back to look towards the south window above the door that we came through, we see a window and within it glass showing Jesus calming the waves. This window was originally in St Clement's Church near the harbour and is now on permanent loan from the art gallery. The window, which also has stained glass with the coat of arms of the Kirk of St Nicholas, was installed in 1998 to mark the quincentenary of the opening of the building by Bishop Elphinston, following it being extended to the size the church is now. Let us now move through into the West Church using an illustration by George Reid, a former president of the Royal Scottish Academy and a famous Aberdonian. It was another famous Aberdonian, the architect James Gibbs, who did the drawings for the current West Kirk of St Nicholas. The drawings were prepared in 1741, but the building wasn't completed until 1755. As I understand it, the city fathers wished to give James Gibb the freedom of the city, and I think the story goes that at the same time they said, while you're here, would you not like to do some drawings for the west side of the church, which had fallen into disrepair? From this viewpoint, we look back eastwards and we can see the magnificent Willis organ in the background, and in front of it in the gallery you see the canopy that bears the coat of arms of the city of Aberdeen, and you see the seats that the Lord Provost and the other councillors sit in when they attend the church for the kirking of the council. In the photograph you can also see the magnificent pulpit with its canopy, and opposite the pulpit you find the lectern sitting in the square pew. Around the gallery we also see two plaques, one to the 7 incorporated trades of the city of Aberdeen, and also one to Robert Gordon's College. The pupils at Robert Gordon's come to St Nicholas on Founders' Day each year, and to other services such as at Christmas time and at the end of the summer term. So let's look up at the west window, the Chalmers window. This window shows various scenes from the life of Christ, with the top rounded window showing the crucifixion. But if we look at the individual panels, we first see the Annunciation This is the visit of the angel Gabriel to Mary, telling her she will bear the Son of God. And then we have the nativity scene. And then the baptism of Jesus by John the Baptist. And we also see the dove, which is the symbol of the Holy Spirit. Then we move on to the Last Supper, where Jesus tells the disciples that the bread symbolizes his body and the wine his blood that will be spilt. And in the bottom right-hand corner, we can see Judas clutching his bag of silver. And then the crucifixion scene. Situated below the window is the vestibule at the west end of the Kirk of St Nicholas. Here we can see one of the fine sculptures. This one is a memorial to John Cushney, who died in 1801. The sculpture shows his will and includes donations to the Infirmary of Aberdeen, the poor of Old Aberdeen, the public kitchen, and for the support of, and I quote, decayed women servants, all to the total of £5,000, which was a huge amount of money back in 1801. At either side of the big door, there are plaques showing the coat of arms of Aberdeen from 1635 and 1639. Then opposite the Cushney Memorial, we find the very fine sculpture by John Bacon from 1791. This is a memorial to Anne Allardyce, wife of Alexander Allardyce of Dunnottar. When we turn to face the sanctuary, we find on the wall 4 needlework panels showing different scenes from the Old Testament. These were created in the 1660s to 1670s by Mary Jamesone, the daughter of George Jamesone, the 17th century portrait painter who had studied under Rubens in Antwerp. And you can see the stitches going in different directions to give the texture of the hanging. This particular scene is of Moses being presented to Pharaoh's daughter. But of course, in the 17th century, they did not know what an Egyptian princess would look like. And so all the characters in the piece are based on the Scottish aristocracy of the day. Here we can see the Moses basket in the reeds. Let us now turn to another of the needlework panels. This is the story of Jephthah's daughter and is a large piece, 12 feet long by 5 feet 10 inches high. At first glance, there is a lot of merriment and dancing and musical instruments in the needlework panel. But let's hear more of the story. Jephthah had just won a battle over the Ammonites and vowed that he would offer a sacrifice of the first living thing to meet him on his return. Jephthah's daughter, playing the tambourine, comes to meet him, hence the anguished look on Jephthah's face. He is distraught. You can look up the book of Judges, chapter 11, to find out more of the story. Now we'll turn to some of the effigies that we find in St Nicholas. There are a number of these found around the church. In fact, the collection is one of the finest in Scotland. We start with another of George Read's drawings, this time of the effigy of Robert Davidson, Provost of Aberdeen, who was killed at the Battle of Harlaw in 1411. The effigy is found on the north wall of the north transept within St John's Chapel. This is a military effigy dated 1450 to 1465 and is attributed to Gilbert Minges. The effigy is said to have been brought from Mary Cooter Church. This effigy seems to be of a woman lying in repose and is found on the south wall of the West Church. So I hope you have enjoyed this quick look round the Kirk of St Nicholas in Aberdeen. So of course you will realise it takes quite a bit of money to keep St Nicholas in good order, to keep the wind and rain out. So if you would like to make a donation to the Kirk, please visit the Kirk website, as you can see below, and there is a link that allows you to make a PayPal donation. Thanks for spending time with me to look round the Kirk of St Nicholas. Bye for now.